Hello, welcome to Disrupted Science, the occasional conversation between the authors of the upcoming book, How the Internet Disrupted Science. I'm Joy Moore, and I'm here with my co-author, Ken Anderson, and we are recording this on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Hey there, Kent. How you doing?
Hey, Joy. I'm good. You might notice that we have a new technology platform we're trying out for this episode. And if it works, we'll use it further. We've also upgraded our audio a little bit. So you'll hear more warm, dulcet tones from us as you work or as you kill time at your desk.
Yes, thank you for the feedback. Those of you who cared enough to complain really mean the world to us.
Actually, yes, it's true. It's true. I've gotten some of my best editors from people who complained about various things. It's always my favorite trick was, okay, come on board. And they often turn out to be great. So if you're a complainer and you want to be interviewed, let us know.
Yeah,
we'd love to talk. But yeah, we're doing more of a kind of free flowing discussion today. So we're just going to talk about a whole bunch of things that we've been chatting about all week, right?
Yep, we got a lot to cover. So why don't you kick us off? What's first up on top of your mind today?
Yeah, so on Monday I published a post on the Geyser about why should we celebrate sleuths and seashells by the seashore, or I don't know. Should we celebrate sleuths? It's a tongue twister now, but anyhow, I learned a new one. Mommy made me mash my M&Ms. Supposedly it helps you warm up for singing.
What is it? Mommy made me
mash my M&Ms. They make the vocal coach makes their kids sing that before they sing, and I guess it helps with your enunciation. So Mama made me mash my M&Ms. But
again, they can't eat M&Ms to sit still and pay attention to do vocal coaching because it's got too much petrochemicals in them. So
that's right. It's all those artificial colors. So it's driving them crazy. So you have to mash them up to get those petrochemicals released. But anyhow, so should we celebrate sleuths was kind of a question that you raised, and it ended up to be fertile ground because in a way we should be the sleuths: scientific publishers, peer reviewers, editorial experts, editors. Deputy editors, associate editors, statisticians, technical reviewers, all those people. We should be the sleuths.
And by sleuths, we're talking about the folks who have really specialized in analysis of literature and images, and very specifically talented and interested in looking at the details about how things are constructed in papers.
Right. It's all post hoc analysis, right?
Yeah.
So they aren't typically brought in during the process, but there have been some sleuths in the past, especially around image manipulation, who found neat ways that they promulgated throughout the industry to do, screening of images to find out if there had been manipulation. And there are those things still going on. I mean, Paper Mill kind of does it, and other people are trying to put technology against it. But the question was, are we deploying these people well first? And I don't think we are. They should be used more internally, and we should learn lessons faster from them, and maybe even have a group that is about them. But celebrating them is kind of, I think...
Well, we can celebrate them privately and say, good job, we're proud of you, but we don't need to
it's the
award them the Oscar at the...
Right.
Annual meetings.
At the annual meeting of look at our flaws. So, I think, and the analogy, right, exactly. The analogy I used was, a food manufacturer publicly celebrating a food inspector that found a problem on a production line. And
can you imagine that guy? I see him in his little coat with his clipboard, calling the Associated Press. I've done it again.
I found some salmonella on a conveyor belt, and it's like, I've shut them down because these chicken people are all corrupt.
Yeah, so, if it's here, it might be everywhere.
That's right. Yeah. So, but there's now an industry around that because we have Retraction Watch and Times Higher Education and some other places that really make hay with these, what the sleuths find. And the sleuths themselves get consulting business and other things. So they have an interest in being public about it. And I just think it's worth pausing and taking a breath and saying, all right, how are these very smart, very dedicated, very committed people best deployed pre-hoc, right? So
Yeah.
that we actually publish better papers and we aren't subject to all this post-hoc noise and reputation damage and all that stuff. So I
Well,
just think we need to be
this
serious up about them because we've got them. They like
Mhm.
us, so.
Well, the detectives are upset because the criminals are using their evidence against the police force.
Right.
And so now I guess that's another crime to solve.
Yeah, that's kind of how this came up, was that the sleuths are upset that the anti-science people are using what they're finding to paint all science as corrupt and bad and
Yeah.
not to be trusted. And again, I think that points to the dangers of this broadcasting, little problems and making, like running the police scanner every day. Publicly and trying to be as loud as we can about it. And we've got a very nice town. I mean, the retraction rate is not up that much, even considering all the problems. And science is generally trustworthy. Scientific literature is generally trustworthy. And we know where the problems are, and they aren't necessarily around retractions, because some of the problems are never going to be retracted, right? The paper that caused the black box warning on COVID vaccines will never be retracted, right? Because those people are not trustworthy. But in any event, so it's just something to think about, that we have this sleuth army in a way, or force, and we should probably move them to.
But who's we? They're
Yeah,
in charge of themselves. So
right. Well, I think STM publishers in general.
Mhm.
It'd be good to have some sort of, I don't know how to do it exactly, but
Well, I've
make
seen some,
them more integral, right?
I've seen a few job postings for some part-time super sleuths at different publishers, so maybe they are
Yeah,
trying
ethics
to
people
bring it
and
in-house.
things like
Yeah.
that. But again, those people tend to be post hoc. They tend to be about retractions and how to handle retractions, and
Yeah.
I just don't know that there's. So I'll talk a little bit about some other issues around this later during Discoveries of the Week, but I think we need to kind of serious up and realize that these, ultimately, if we are airing our dirty laundry all the time, people are going to start saying the whole place stinks. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of ethics, yesterday the preliminary program for the 10th annual peer review Congress was posted.
nice.
I've been looking forward to seeing that. This, for those of you who might not be familiar with it, the peer review Congress was started in 1989 by Drummond Rennie when he was at JAMA, and they do it every 4 years in Chicago. And so this year it's September 3 through 5th at the Swiss Hotel, which is awesome. One of my favorite places to stay.
Yeah.
Hope I get to go. I'm open to invitations, anyone. But the agenda looks great, and it's just goes to show how careful planning and structured gathering of submissions for abstracts, presentations, and posters can really pay off, and particularly when you're dealing with these topics that are quite complicated in reality, but are glossed over, mentioned in marketing promotional material, in product launches and things, as we've got the solution to your peer review problem, or hey everybody, we should try this. And so this is perfect timing for such a deep dive and rigorous review of what people are actually finding in real life and what others can learn from it.
Yeah, and what I liked about it is it looked like to me in the cursory review of it, is that they packaged all the AI related stuff on day one to kind of set the table in a way, but also get it out of the way so they can get to some more nuts and bolts, blocking and tackling, normal peer review issues. And it's a strong agenda. I really liked it. I think they make this quadrennial meeting worth waiting for because they do take it so seriously, and they get, a high level of submissions. And, kudos to them. Looking forward to it, and a nice hotel, like you said. So there you go.
Yeah. So check it out. That it's posted, like I said, September 3 through 5th. It's organized and sponsored by a collaboration between JAMA, the BMJ, and Meta Research, which is an innovation institute at Stanford that Drummond is affiliated with. And it's supported by the John and Laura Arnold Foundation, which is, I guess it's been rebranded Arnold Ventures.
Right. And it's an LLC now.
But
just a note.
This is the youngest billionaire couple in the United States. They made their money off from Enron.
But they're adorable.
Oil analysis. Yeah.
Maybe they want to send us to Chicago.
Back. Yeah, that's great.
That, Arnold, adorable couple. Yeah. It's just 2 plane tickets and a few nights at the Swiss hotel. So.
Yeah. Thank you for supporting integrity. We want to go.
So one other thing I kind of along these lines, and so I have I'm a big fan of your local epidemiologist. So that's an expert who values. She and Abdul, her co-host on America Dissected, both value peer review. They always say how important it is to have their works peer reviewed. Even Caitlin Jetelina, who's the lead on it, has even talked about how she gets frustrated with how long it takes, but is always amazed at how much it improves her work. And she's so grateful for it in the end. And I think you and I will have a story about that someday for our book. But so I'm a big fan of hers, big fan of her newsletter, of the podcast, everything she does, the way she cares, how much she cares and how much she knows, and how well she communicates, all of those things. But she put in something this week at the bottom of her newsletter praising the NIH open access fee cap. And it led me to comment on her blog, and she very nicely responded, and I got some likes. And then I responded to her, and she very nicely responded to me. It was very civil, so that was nice. Added to my respect for her, and the fact that she even took the time, in all honesty.
Yeah, it took your parasocial relationship to the next level.
I'm verklempt. It's awesome, but no, I'm a big fan of her. So, but this is kind of getting into what's so striking about this is her newsletter has a paywall. So she's, kind of complaining about or advocating that if taxpayer-funded research should be free to read. And okay, but that's a common Time Warner argument, right?
She gets paid to write words, and she writes really good words, and they should be paid for.
I pay her. So, but at the same time, her newsletter is a lot about people who don't have her level of domain expertise intruding on her domain and making claims and pushing things in directions that don't make sense to her and her colleagues and her professional colleagues. And I would say this is, in a way, slightly equivalent to that, because we get this a lot where librarians or academics or physicians come in with a very superficial knowledge of what it takes to do what scientific and scholarly publishers do. And they make general policy statements and wave their hands and say, you should do it this way. And this is logically, how X and Y make sense. And I think that we need to all have our own respect about what each professional lane does.
Yeah, believe it or not, there is domain expertise in publishing as well.
Yeah.
And we're some friendly experts. We're happy to pick up the phone if you want to call a friend for an explanation and a discussion.
Or you can read one of my old 100 and whatever things publishers do posts, which I got tired of writing because it just kept expanding. But
hey, this is who we wrote a whole book for.
Exactly. So it's just a reminder that they're a great people doing great work in public communications, but scientific articles aren't public communications, and government meddling in independent businesses is not cool. And then to
or
just read,
profitable or
yeah,
in any way good for taxpayers at all whatsoever, period.
no. Yeah, it does not create jobs, does not pay off the funding and all that kind of stuff. So, and then just to remember that maybe talk to the experts before you go running off with pronouncements. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're not all right. Greedy jerks. Come on.
No, come on. We'd love to talk.
Speaking of greedy jerks.
And aren't we usually?
What's up with the Times Higher Education talking about something going on in Amsterdam?
Oh, these guys. So it's one of these, I love this term, mass resignation. And so I'm looking forward to like thousands of angry Dutch scientists and scholars marching through the streets.
They're clunking through on their wooden shoes.
Yeah, they're clogging, or they're doing a bike, cartel or something. I don't know, and blocking all the bridges. And it's 30 people, 30 editors, and their gripe was beef? So Amsterdam University Press went private a few years ago, and Taylor and Francis decided they wanted to acquire it. And it's a small press. It's, not huge. And the reason it spun out is probably because the university didn't want to subsidize it anymore. And so they said, well, let's go private. And then it's not big enough to survive in that. And Taylor and Francis came in and kind of, betting no one would say it, probably saved it and brought it in-house. Yeah, it makes sense. It happens all the time, right? But these academics who decided enough is enough said Taylor and Francis is a greedy APC charging company, and we aren't going to work for that open access publisher that charges high APCs. And it's just kind of, here it is, I told you so moment, the APCs have gotten to the point where now governments and scientists and scholars everywhere are complaining about their rate because the subscription dollars aren't there to subsidize them down. And now it's, once you get to the point, and we'd said this years and years and years ago, it just makes me laugh and cry at the same time. Once you get to over 50%, you watch these APCs, they're going to have to carry the full freight or much closer to it. And even at 51, 52%, then less revenue per article with less follow-on revenue because of Creative Commons, they are already causing so much consternation. So, but my biggest complaint was portraying this as a mass resignation. It's like, you could have said 30 editors walk out, and it would have been like, oh, okay, that's accurate, but a mass resignation.
But who needs to know this?
That's the other thing. It's the Amsterdam local paper, right?
Yeah, maybe they're going to go set up a new bookshop and a coffee shop. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You'll have the local Starbucks will have like 30 more people.
It's not. I didn't mean the Starbucks kind of coffee shop, Ken. They have different kinds of coffee shops over there. I don't
know coffee shops. Sorry. Oh, you're talking coffee shops? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But anyhow, so it's misbehavior and taking things out of context. But we had an update today, switching topics, about the Gaslight journals. You did a nice little update looking at what these little puppies have been up to in the last few months. And
man, these things are so weird. So when we were talking, when the NIH director came after us last week, I decided, oh yeah, I hadn't been over to see what they're up to in a while. So I took a little trip over.
Looky-loo?
I took a little looky-loo. Man, these things it's just weird. So if you haven't read my piece, the takeaway is what's happening is nothing. Do we have sound effects for this thing? Can you put in some little crickets?
I'll try to. All right, let's try it. Okay, if it worked, you heard crickets right then. If not, you heard silence. All right, I'll try.
Yeah. But I did go through them carefully just to make sure I wasn't missing anything important. And so I gave a little summary of what I found. Uh, and it was confirming my suspicions all along. They're like, maybe they're like pop up and Gaslight, and then shut it down and move on.
Right.
And there's hasn't been much new content posted. There are some strange things going on there. And if this is the model that they're talking about to replace all the elite excessive fees charging foreign, scholarly publishers that must be stopped,
Right. They aren't
then
serious.
yeah, then that'll be interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
they said that publishing is cheap, and you know what? They got that one right. When you don't publish anything, it doesn't cost a whole lot.
That's right. And I'm sure their submissions are probably just stacked up. That's probably the big thing. I'm sure they just have a backlog they just can't even fight through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. As if. Oh my gosh. These
My
people are
favorite
just
though was
the worst.
one of the research articles. The author actually of a paper that was cited in a Perspectives article actually commented on the site, "Hey, I'm really honored that you like my work, but I just need to point out you got it wrong this way, that way, and the other. Thanks." And there's like no response, no nothing. I mean, oh, they do publish their peer reviews. Those are cute. If
Oh.
oh, they are their peers. There's only like 14 of them altogether. So
Right. Yeah. If you can fit them all in a back of a restaurant. So yeah, we're gonna have a dinner with our peers. Okay. Well, so there you go.
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for doing that. We'll keep up with that. And the other thing to notice is this that this came out in a companion newsletter to the Geyser that we've started called Disrupted Science.
Mhm.
And we're going to do that's free to you, same subscription terms, no additional cost, all added value. And we will publish occasional posts on topics that that are related to the book, or we're kind of covering in the podcast, or whatever we decide to do, basically. But you'll get an occasional post that way. Sign up for it. There's instructions in today's Geyser post, and yeah, no extra charge and a lot of extra value. So there you go.
Yeah, when we started the book, we had no idea that there would be so much to talk about on an ongoing basis. So
thanks, RFK.
Content keeps coming.
Yeah.
All right, what's up next?
Well, speaking of that, my oft mistaken for each other friend Rick Anderson.
You know what? It was just as I was prepping for this that I put two and two together.
Yeah,
you're both named Anderson, and you both write about.
There's a little bit of a story to it, but we won't go into it. But the funny thing is that when I sound really, really smart and rational, people will respond, "Thanks, Rick." And when he starts to sound a little bit testy, they go, "Gosh, Kent." So we do get confused when we tonally shift into each other's ranges, because he's smarter, calmer, and more analytical than I am, and I run a little hotter than he does. But we both definitely care about what we're doing.
I don't know if I've ever seen you two in the same room at the same time, though.
I have. Yeah, we're different. We're different people, and he plays banjo and guitar, and I play keyboards. So
okay.
He writes about music a lot. He's a really, really good music critic and super smart. And hero of mine. And he took on the Scholarly Kitchen Creative Commons this week and did a nice job kind of elaborating on why it does and doesn't make sense and may not make sense mostly. And then suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous commenters in response, because it was just, I'm going to put the explicit tag on this. It was a shit show. Sorry, Rick. I know you don't like that language, but it was crazy town what these people were coming at him with. Not even logical, not even fiscally sensible, nothing based in reality, just placards and
And his piece wasn't particularly provocative. He was just reporting on the AAAS study and saying, this is what this means.
Right. People are still confused. It's been a long time and, blah, blah, blah. And just a whole bunch of ideological stances and posturing came at him. And he handled it like a champ. David Crotty weighed in and handled it like a champ. But
Crotty, he blew the referee whistle.
Yeah, he did. He tried to, but the scrum continued. The hooligans were not to be stopped. And then I follow Rick on Blue Sky, and I could tell that things had gotten to a point where he was kind of like going to Blue Sky and going, "Oh, help me." And so it was tough. And I'm really glad. One of the reasons I left the kitchen and started my own thing and made it paid is the commenting is so crazy. And it was interesting to see that even in this year of our Lord 2025, after all of these discussions, all of these obvious limitations and failings and lack of clear wins and all of this stuff, you still have the crazy comment section with all the ideologues coming out of the woodwork whenever you touch anything that makes them tremble even a little. So interesting stuff.
And it makes you stop and think, how can something that is so confusing and so polarizing with very little, I don't want to say that, they might complain. I was going to say it doesn't really do anything. So long.
Very little benefit, right.
Wouldn't it be easier just to not do it than to keep fighting the fight for fuck all?
Yeah, I know. For what? What do you? So, but it's interesting. So I'm gonna segue into the next thing we're gonna talk about, the book. So there's a new book out called More Everything Forever: AI Overlords, Space Empires, and Silicon Valley's Crusade to Control the Fate of Humanity by Adam Becker. And he popped up to us through an interview with Kara Swisher on her podcast on Monday. And it was a great interview.
It was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh, where have you been all my life? Actually, I might have a little crush. I think he's too young for me, though.
Okay. Well, I've so Caitlin's my hero. He's your hero. So, maybe we can all go out for dinner.
It's all right, Adam.
At the Swiss Hotel in Chicago. So.
No, I'm keeping it strictly parasocial.
Okay. Same here. But he's a hero of mine too. I'm about, 20% into the book, but the interview was validating because he was saying things that you and I get into in our book. And it was a little like, this is so crazy. I hope we're right. We looked at it from every angle and it's like, it seems right. And he really is like, yeah, these people are nuts.
Yeah, so. It was such a relief because can you imagine, like our book just went into production last week. Right. And if this came out and he said, you know what, they're really onto something.
Right. They're geniuses. But one of the reason this ties into the Creative Commons thing is what he's talking about is there's this sort of worship of the belief that the singularity, that energy consumption, population growth, all of these things through what's it called? What's the term for informed giving?
Effective altruism.
Effective altruism. That effective altruism informs that mathematically you can go out and say, if there's even a chance of us having 20 trillion humans throughout the galaxy, if we do all of this stuff correctly and we let AI reach singularity and we consume all the energy and all the resources and all that, it's worth a shot. And so we should burn everything down for that one shot, basically, is what they're saying. And he is going through, I haven't gone through the entire book, but he seems like he's going to handle it because he's a scientist himself. And he is taking it apart very nicely, showing their logical errors, their mathematical errors, their conceptual errors, and just how,
and how stupid it is to fantasize about going to Mars because it's poisonous.
Yeah, the dirt's poison, the air's terrible, and the gravity is insufficient. So yeah. But they, the Creative Commons ties into that, and open access too. It's this, what he uses the word monomania, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this belief that if you just feed information into computers in sufficient quantity, and all of it, that you will somehow reach the singularity, and then nirvana will. It's a techno-utopian dream, right? It's the wet dream of techno-utopians, right? Then all of a sudden, all the scarcity is gone, and inequity's gone, and the world's a wonderful place because we have super intelligent machines using all of our information, figuring things out, heading off diseases, heading off famines, redirecting shipments everywhere, and then figuring out how we can get to other planets and populate the galaxy and save us so that humans can exist even after our sun explodes. And he traces it back through science fiction, and it basically says it's science fiction.
Yeah.
So
it is. They're hyperbaric chamber fever dreams,
Yep. So we recommend the interview with Kara. It's really, really good. She does a great job. I think she actually is a bigger fan of his than you are. She was kind of gushing over him. I mean, and there you go, Kara. You're losing your journalistic credibility. But one other thing that was interesting, you pointed this out, the copyright notice on the book. It's a badass copyright notice. So I actually copied it out. One thing, I read these books on Kindle so I can highlight and then get all the text in a web form so I can use it. And there will be a book review of this on the Geyser when I'm done. But I grabbed this out of the copyright notice. Hachette Book Group supports the right to free expression and the value of copyright. The purpose of copyright is to encourage writers and artists to produce the creative works that enrich our culture. I think we need to appropriate that, don't you?
If it's not copyrighted, well, we can always call up Hachette and ask permission.
That's right. It's not so hard.
See, that's how it works. We can share. Right.
I'm sure they'll be happy to have more support of that. So, all right.
Well, and that made me think. I'm really looking forward to reading the book. I didn't get beyond the copyright page because I got distracted with the Gaslight people last night. But I'm looking forward to reading that over the next few days, and I've been wanting to do some writing about some of the longevity science research personalities and their grand wizard David Sinclair. I've been wanting to talk about him for a while.
Smug guy.
So I think this is and the whole cast of characters around them, it's a lot. Yep. And believe it or not, it's all relative to things we all know and encounter on a day-to-day
Sinclair's
basis
in Boston,
here.
Right? He's at Harvard.
He is.
So it reminds me that, so we're in this book, they talk about the singularity. So keep this in mind when you get to this part. I have been in Ray Kurzweil's home.
I have.
I was an invited guest for an afternoon discussion of all these things with him and two or three other people, because it was one of those.
And you've never been the same since?
It didn't affect me at all. I became aware of that he wears a turtleneck well, I think was the biggest thing. A turtleneck and a jacket well. That's kind of his vibe. But and he has a nice home. I mean, obviously he's made a lot of money through his keyboards and his tech scanning and all those. He's a good businessman. So, kudos to him. But yeah, it was just kind of every time I read about a Ray Kurzweil story, I'm like, that's right, I was in his house. Huh. He was perfectly nice guy. But yeah. Anyhow, so if you need me to go visit David Sinclair and ingratiate myself, I'm happy to do it.
Well, yes. And then there's that woman from MIT who is one of the editors of that vaccine journal. Ooh,
yeah,
I got a lot of
I'm
stuff
staying on this side of the river from her.
Together.
So, frankly, from what I saw in the videos. Oh boy. All right.
All
Let's
right.
talk about
Well, I
discoveries of the
think
week.
yeah, that wraps it up for this week's news as of this time on this day. There'll probably be
Oh,
some
boy.
more. But yeah, let's wrap it up with some discoveries. So my first one, my discovery is, it's more of a pro tip
Mhm.
because I figured this out a long time ago, but it's summertime, it's timely, and it's also related to current events. So Kent, have you ever microwaved your
Oh,
ice
yeah.
cream?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
well, never mind. Then
No.
that's
Why?
boring.
Oh, so I should say no. I'm sorry.
You should say, "What? That's crazy. Why would you do that?"
So tell me what got you to this to be part of the tribe.
To be part of the
You've
tribe,
now
though. Yeah.
joined a tribe,
Well, I
Joy. So
noticed.
this is actually good news. It's like, yes, welcome
Okay.
to the tribe. You now know our secret of happiness.
Right. Yes. This is why we get along. Because, well, because every night, if I'm watching TV with my mom, we like to have a bowl of ice cream between episodes of a show. And that gives you only a few minutes to get the ice cream ready. And when it's really hard, you don't want to wait around for it to soften up. And you don't want to, break your elbow trying
So
to
you're
get it out.
microwaving it
And
in the
so
tub.
it is a pro
It is a
tip.
pro
This is
tip. Yeah,
even better. Oh, it's for the scooping.
Dang it.
So my microwave has a preset for softening butter. And if you don't have such a fancy feature on your microwave, it's at 20% for a minute and 3 seconds is perfect for softening.
What size of container?
Tub of
Is
ice
it
cream.
A quart, a pint, or what is it?
It's the quart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a dryer's
this
kind of quart thing. Okay.
Yes. And you can put 2 in at the same time.
Double
if
chip.
you're going to do 2 scoops. Yeah. And then you can scoop it and it's perfect.
Wow.
There you go. And it doesn't melt it. It's just right.
Gosh.
Microwaves are amazing. They're the most underused appliance in the kitchen, and especially in the summertime when it's too hot to use the oven or to go outside and grill. Get to know your microwave, use all the features. It's good for the environment.
Power level
is
the biggest unlock on a microwave. Manipulating the power level is the biggest unlock on a microwave. Absolutely. So that is awesome. All right. Well, you got me. That's a good discovery.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right. So mine was
find?
an unexpected one. So I'm a big fan of the band The Warning. You'll find that out on Friday if you read the Geyser. But and I'm going to go see them Sunday, so I'm totally jacked. I'm going to go see them live. They're in peak form. They're touring the U.S. They're selling out shows everywhere, right and left. Their fan base is growing exponentially. And a friend of mine in Oregon, who's a big fan, even bigger fan than I am, I think, he actually introduced me to the band. He sent me an article from Catholic World News about how deep the Warning's lyrics and thinking and worldview is. And it didn't surprise me that much.
And they're really young,
yeah, they're
right?
like 24, 22, and 20, I think, at this point. But they broke, and they're like a 12-year-old band at this point. So they broke through when they were very, very young. And they have 4 albums out. They just released their 4th last year, called Keep Me Fed. And we have a chapter in our book named after one of their songs. We have a quote from them in our book. And so it kind of didn't surprise me that this writer would have picked up on the deep nature of their lyrics and their thinking. But he reintroduced a term called acedia. And it really resonated with me because it feels like what we as publishing people have gone through and what maybe society's kind of going through. And it's not laziness or sloth, but a deep weariness with the good, a restless refusal to engage with the demands of one's own vocation and ultimate end. And it's really an interesting essay. I'll put a link to it in Friday's post about one of the songs that he features. It'll show you the warning in action. But I think this is kind of I sense this with a lot of people where it's like, I'm not really going to fight the fight because I'm just tired and I'm just worn out. And it is a tactic that a lot of people use to just wear you out and incur acedia in you. So I think that it's a useful term. It's a great essay. It's a great band. And I'm going to go see them live, and I'm not having acedia. I am so excited. I love live music for all those reasons, because you are in the midst of people who are in the moment, and there is no room for acedia at all. You are jacked, and you are having fun, and you are alive. So that's what I urge people to do. Go out and find some live music this weekend, and go and rock it out, or do whatever you do, jazz it out, or yacht rock it out, do whatever you want.
Get your boogie on however you want.
Exactly. With your pre-softened ice cream, and get rid of your acedia. That sounds like a good night.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And as always, we'd love to hear from you. Send us your ideas. You can get in touch with us at disruptedscience@gmail.com. And I think that's all there is today. Why don't you sign us off, Kent? What you got?
Okay, I've got a quote from the warning. So, give me something to believe in this hell you call a dream. And that's it for us. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.